There we go. We're starting now.
Back again.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Happy Giving Tuesday to you. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday. And you guys, this is a very special Tuesday. I gotta throw it over to my very special guy right here, Big O. Happy Giving Tuesday, Big O.
Happy Giving Tuesday to you, Trey Holiday, and welcome back to the set. You know, we missed you yesterday, but the big fella, my brother Shakundi Kunlo, sat in for you. We had a good time here.
Absolutely. I got to catch the show. I love when I can actually just watch. So I did get to watch. He did a great job.
Yeah,
great job, Kun.
We had a good time yesterday. Giving Tuesday today. Also, big show today. We got Marcus Harrison Green from the South Seattle Emeralds going to join us. And Mayor Jenny Durkan, fresh off a press conference. She just did a press conference this morning. Press conferences are kind of different these days. Media availability press conference, and signed budget, some other stuff. So she's going to come and talk about the budget. And we asked her about the budget and a few other questions. Last time she was here, we did there's more public service about COVID and services that are out there. We didn't really get to ask other questions that we really want to be able to talk about. So the mayor has promised us come back so we can follow up with her. Man, is Marcus Green back there? Where is Marcus? Oh yeah, if you could bring Marcus up.
Yeah,
there
Marcus,
he is.
Marcus Harrison Green is here. Yes, all three names. Oh, can I get all three names, man?
Oh man, come on, Marcus Harrison Green. Matter of fact, I did something special for you. Can we solo Marcus? Can we put him on the screen by himself?
Oh, what?
Yeah. Hold on. There.
Oh,
bam! Look at that. Wow. I did that just for you.
Much appreciation, man. I got a lineup yesterday just for you, bro. I got the crisp line, so I appreciate this, man. I must say.
All right, brother. It's all good. It's all good. So we got today this morning, you know, we got the mayor coming in at about 20 after, but I thought that we would focus this morning, man, on philanthropy and Black philanthropy and philanthropy in our neighborhood. And that's something that, you know, we've got a long history of here in Seattle. So, you know, thanks to the Black Heritage Society of Washington State, we're going to get in the time machine here in a minute. But I asked Marcus, I said, you know what, we want to do a headline. Let's talk about a headline today. And the headline that he wanted to talk about was what the prosecutor, I believe, came out yesterday. And it turns out that Washington State has the third highest number of hate crimes in America. If you can go ahead and play that clip for us, all you. This is from King 5.
Washington has the fourth highest number of hate crimes in the nation.
And did you know the majority of the crimes are being reported here in Seattle? King 5 Natalie Swabia is live for us tonight with the alarming numbers prosecutors are seeing right now in King County. Natalie.
Yeah, prosecutors looking at the last 3 years say in 2018, they had 30 hate crime cases reported. In 2019, the number was 38. But so far this year, they've already received 51 cases. Reports of hate crimes with some of the alleged incidents caught on camera and one case after another described in detail, like what happened in Federal Way last month. Police say two white men chased a black man in a vehicle pursuit for over 10 miles. The defendants accused the man of a hit and run, and when they caught him, began beating him and yelling racial epithets, according to police. The man had to be hospitalized.
By far, the most common victims for hate crimes in Seattle are African Americans and gay men.
David Bannock and Leandra Kraft, the attorneys who focus on hate crime cases for the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, say it's been a busy year.
Due to COVID, we have seen hate crimes cases come in against Asian Americans.
Overall, an increase is being seen nationwide, with the FBI reporting hate crimes in the United States reaching the highest level in more than a decade. Data from the U.S. Department of Justice shows that Washington State had some of the most cases in 2018, over 500. Only 3 other states reported more crimes motivated by hate. Washington did pass a hate crime bill last year, which changed the name of the crime to hate crime instead of malicious harassment.
Sounds like a little thing, but to me, it's a very big thing. Just to be able to communicate, to victims, to judges, to attorneys, to the community, call these crimes what they actually are.
Bannock also said it's significant that Seattle police created a biased crime unit with a detective dedicated to those cases, something a lot of departments don't currently have.
There's likely dozens of hate crimes that go unreported or do not ever make it to us.
During the first half of this year, Seattle police were already seeing a 28% increase in hate crimes today. One prosecutor said that she thinks there is definitely an increase of this crime happening in the county, but she also thinks more people are reporting this kind of crime to police. Live in Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
All right, so you see, hate crimes on the rise. Watch this stay. I mean, we try to tell people what it is, but man, it's out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you said it today when I came in. You're like, hey, when they say the hate is real, it is. It's real here. We see that, we know it, and now the numbers are showing it.
Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Giving Tuesday, man. People have been giving a lot of hate in this city over the course of the last year. One of the things that I'll say that wasn't reported on is the fact that it's Black folks are the highest targeted victims of hate crimes in the city, and it's been that way every single month. And you know, Black folks, we only make up about 7% of the city. Guess how much? Guess how much the percentage is in terms of hate crimes that we make up. 34%. So we are one of every three of the victims that experience the hate crime in the city. I mean, it's just preposterous at this point. And I don't know. I got to say, with some of these numbers, man, I'm perplexed in the sense that, you know, we're supposedly in the midst of this pandemic, and yet you have hate crime numbers that are, you know, far and away higher than they were in the previous 2 years. So I'm not sure what's going on. If it's the case that, you know, the people feel even more emboldened to call folks the N-word and you know, and attack folks on the street or what. But this just has to cease.
Yeah, no, definitely. Speaking of hate crimes, speaking of the morning update show, you remember earlier this year, back in April, it was a lot of hate crimes that were happening in the International District, brothers and sisters down there in the CID. And back on April 2nd, you know, our archives is short, but we got our archives. So I dug in the crates, and actually we had shared a story in the International District about how a hate crime occurred there against Chinese restaurants, and a group of artists had actually came to the rescue. Let me play that real quick. Yeah, just sharing with the audience there. They're like, you know, like back in April, as soon as we heard about that, because that was the big thing back in April, was like, you know, Asian people, especially Chinese communities, being targeted with hate crimes around COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, you know, Kioki Salvano, he went out there as a photojournalist and was able to capture this work. Because again, this happened on the fly. When we talk about people being so connected to their communities, Jade Garden, one of those the first restaurants that got vandalized, it was the quick work of community artists that came together to pull that effort along. So I'm glad that he was there to actually capture that, and that we got to show that on our show.
All right, so we want to switch it up here a bit. Like I said, we got the mayor coming up at like 12:20, 12:22. But I want to switch it up a bit here and talk about, when we talk about this Giving Tuesday, philanthropy, and everything else. And you know, and right now, you know, a lot of times in our community, when we're thinking of other people giving, you know, and you think of philanthropy here in Seattle, of course, you know, Black people make up 7%. You think of white people and organizations. So sometimes you got to put people in the spaceship. And let's take this here. This is up on our website right now. And it says 100 years ago, Seattle's Black community met its own charitable needs in the Central District. And right there, this drawing right here, courtesy of the Black Heritage Society, this is actually where Mount Calvary Church and Uncle Ike's is right now. And this was the Sojourner Truth home, and basically operated 100 years ago, and it provided services there. The original mission was to serve mothers with children, single women, and the friendless, right there in the Central District. And the Central District and Black people here in Seattle have a very long history of philanthropy. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to sit here and think now, you know, when we talk about this and this government program and that government program, when Black people were out, you know, 100 years ago, people knew wasn't nobody coming to save us. We had to go and save ourselves. So, you know, right up there, like I said, on the Where We Converge on our blog, you can see all this right here where it talks about the history of philanthropy. And there's also a link there to a book by Esther Mumford, who talks about the different charitable people and organizations, Black people, 100 years ago here in the Central District of Seattle.
You know, I really love the uplifting of this story. And I remember the first time we shared about the Sojourner Truth House, it was such great knowledge for me because that corner is so iconic in the Central District and clearly always has been. But again, you're talking about that resilience that comes from the Black community, always finding a way out of no way. And we do what we can with what we have. That mentality and that ideology is something that clearly permeates from our history. So I love that we uplift that again today.
Black philanthropy. Marcus, tell us about it.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, I think, you know, we're a race and community of folks that we've had to cultivate resilience in community. And so we always do, whether it was whether it was the home there, whether it was, you know, during the time period where we had to make our own lunches and so forth with the, you know, you had the Black Panthers feeding program and so forth. So, I mean, it's something that's in our DNA, and it's alive and well today on this Giving Tuesday, where, you know, I know and Trey, that you all are giving shout outs to a lot of Black businesses. I know I certainly am, from, you know, creative, from creative community art spaces to Manawari to, you know, Langston Performing Arts. Also a shameless plug for the Emerald, which is also a nonprofit that folks can give to today. So it's alive and well.
But speaking of that, and you know, I always like to educate the audience. Marcus, found a clip here from Professor Tyrone Freeman. University of Indiana actually has a school of philanthropy, and he just gives a short history here of Black philanthropy in America.
African Americans have been philanthropists from day one. In every era of American history, African Americans have used philanthropy in a variety of ways. They used it for daily survival, to meet needs, to pool resources, to care for each other, and to help each other get by, whether enslaved or whether free. They used it to develop their communities, to build schools, to provide services in the face of broader discrimination and segregation. And they certainly have used it to bring about social change. Think about abolition, the civil rights movement, even contemporary movements surrounding mass incarceration or other concerns in the community. All of these are part of the traditions of giving in African American philanthropy. But there's another way that they've also used it, and that's to express their humanity, their dignity, and their generosity in the face of a world that has regularly denied them all three. So when LeBron James starts a school in his hometown for kids that were just like him when he was a little boy, that's not a random act. He's part of this long history of African American philanthropists providing educational opportunities for their communities in the face of a larger system that's insufficient at best, but grossly discriminatory at worst. So he joins the likes of people like Bishop Daniel Payne of the AME Church, Nanny Helen Burroughs, Lucy Laney, even Marva Collins, these philanthropists who stood up and provided education for their communities. But it's not just about LeBron and other millionaires and billionaires. It's about you and me. If you're an usher at your church and you welcome people into service every week, you're a philanthropist. If you volunteer as a coach and you pour yourself into the lives of young people, you're a philanthropist. If you're part of a giving circle, you pool your resources together with other like-minded people to start a scholarship or to provide some other service in the community, you're a philanthropist. And you've got 400 years of history standing behind you.
So there's a whole history around, around philanthropy, just reinforcing what both you and Marcus just said. Before we get out of this segment, and we're going to break, and we're going to come back with Mayor Durkan, I thought that it was important. We got some slides here. We want to show what everybody is supporting. So I'll run it from over here on this side real quick. Oh, yeah. So let me bring this up first today. Giving Tuesday, producer Acacia Salisbury is giving the Mutual Aid Books. I want to highlight Mutual Aid Books, who provides free books to Black and Indigenous authors to the community. We have Alia de Alessandro, Entre Hermanos. See, I remember. Access to service for health and wellness is even more important during a pandemic. Your chances of accessing these necessities drop off if you're part of the migrant and Latinx communities. Organizations like Entre Hermanos champion an incredible part of equity. Bobby Steele's Fair Start. They help people overcome barriers by teaching them work and life skills they need to succeed in the food service industry. Nikki Barron, Kindering. Kindering is filling a gap for students with diverse abilities during the pandemic by launching virtual playdates and offering teletherapy for them and their caretakers, regardless of ability to pay. G. Prez, TUBMAN Center for Health. The TUBMAN Center for Health and Freedom addresses health and wellness from both systemic and clinical approaches. Trey Holiday, Bay Holiday, AFRICATOWN Community Land Trust. AFRICATOWN Community Land Trust works to secure land for affordable housing, commercial space, and home ownership in the Central District of Seattle. Big Jake Grabrot, PETTIROSSO. PETTIROSSO is owned by two sisters, Mickey and Yuki Soto. This Capitol Hill staple is great for your daily coffee and pastry cravings, plus a lunch and dinner menu handcrafted. Eric Calligraphy, Hella Black Books. Reading is powerful and has the keys to unlock a world and wealth of information. I encourage you to support Hella Black Books in their mission to make culturally relevant books readily available to Black youth. Daryl, DQ, Mothers for Police Accountability. Now more than ever, we need to support organizations like Mothers for Police Accountability that hold police departments to a higher standard and calling a public service. And rounding it out, it's me, the CIERRA sisters. I'm honoring my stepmom, Paulette Salisbury, who's battling stage 2 breast cancer and kicking its butt. I encourage my friends and family to give the CIERRA sisters, whose mission is to break the cycle of fear and increase knowledge concerning breast cancer in the African American and underserved communities. And we'll come back, and I'll say that also wearing the shirt today, we still got a few. You guys have been doing great with this, but we've got a few of these breast cancer awareness Converge shirts that are left. And we're donating a portion of the proceeds to the CIERRA sisters. And so you can see all the people that we're giving to. Nikki is going to put that up on our IG and on our Facebook page, so you can get that there. We're a little late going into the break. On the other side, we got Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
bulshada iyo baqaaraha.
My community, my clinic.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, want to thank you for all your support. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury and joined by
Trey Holiday. Hey, y'all.
And also joined by our partner in crime at the South Seattle Emerald, Marcus Green. There's Marcus, right? What's up, Marcus?
I'm good. How you doing? How you doing?
Looking fresh out there. Right? You said you got lined up and crispy. You know, the home studio.
Man, I'm trying to support Black businesses, man. I saw my boy Paul over at Custom Cuts in Skyway. Go holler at him, man.
There we go.
You know, I get 4 haircuts a week now, man. I'm ashamed to say it. Right? You know, they told me I got to stay crispy up here now because we're using the 6K cameras now. So I can't have my scrub.
Nah, bro. Yeah, I was gonna ask if y'all do the high definition, man. You both looking like you got that cocoa glow. Is that from the Queen Care products or what?
Man, that's so good.
Shine through, brother.
All right. In the green room, and we're running a little late this morning, so I appreciate your patience here. But in the green room, we got Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan. Alia, can you please bring the mayor out?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Durkan. How are you?
I'm good, although I was sorry to see Marcus. You know, I only had all 3 names used when I was in big trouble. It was Jenny, Durkan. Marcus, I'm not calling you by all 3 names.
Well, you know, it's my thing that my mother says that I need to do. So
all right, I'll follow your mother because we all do what our mothers tell us.
Here we go.
You already know what's up. So Mayor Durkan, so got you on here today. We want to talk about budget. Got a few other things. I actually want to talk to you about some of the policing stuff that's going on down there at the legislature. But I know you just had a presser, and maybe you can just condense, like, you know, what that action was about this morning, and then we could jump into a question and answer.
Yeah, great, Omari. First, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. It was a different kind of Thanksgiving, but as you know, our COVID numbers are going up. So I really appreciate everything everyone did to stay apart. I was able to sign our budget today, and in Seattle, we had to go through 2 budget processes this year because we had such a drop in revenues. So we had our mid-year balancing package, which there was a lot of the sound and fury over, and then the big budget for next year. And I'm very proud that we were able to collaborate with the city council and pass a budget that really, I think, positions us in the best way to still continue to fight COVID, to make significant investments in equity and in community, and to position ourselves to come out stronger once we finally are out of COVID. So it's a $6 billion budget overall. And at the end of the day, I think we're able to get a good compromise on some of the critical issues like policing, but also not step back from the commitments we've made to investments in community and investments in things like COVID relief for workers and small businesses.
All right. Marcus?
Yeah, so Mayor Durkan, I wanted to start off by asking you, you know, obviously pre-pandemic, we've had a enduring homelessness crisis that continues on. How do you feel that this $6 billion budget actually addresses that crisis?
So Marcus, that is a really great question. I think everybody who has been in and around Seattle have seen that there is a significant increase in the amount of visible homelessness. During COVID-19, following the CDC recommendations, we really cut back on removing or relocating any encampments or people that were living outside because of the health considerations. We also have significant amount of services in Seattle, so more people came from green belts and other places, and there's more visible homelessness in our neighborhoods and our parks. We are making the largest investment ever in homelessness through this budget. And through that, we hope to increase our shelter space by up to 425 new shelter spaces. We're using some of our CARES Act money right now to get hotel room space. And we will increase the amount of engagement that we have at the front end to try to get people not just inside, but the services they need. So we also are going to be moving over to a regional homeless system this year. And that system will have a whole new joint authority that isn't just the city of Seattle. It is the county together with all the cities. And so there's going to be a lot happening on that front.
All right. Trey Holiday?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Durkan, for being with us this morning. Clearly, there's been so much energy in the streets and really focusing on Black solutions, right, and equity for the Black community. I heard you earlier say that, you know, this budget is setting you up for great success. What are you looking for or aiming for in terms of the longevity of a lot of these issues that folks are talking about in terms of targeting specifically the Black community and Black equity?
So Trey, that is really a great question. And I think your question about enduring is what's important. This budget, I think, has significant and historic investments, $100 million of community-centered investments that will be guided by community voice. But I've said before, I think we have to make generational investments over a period of time. So I hope now in the beginning of the year to have a conversation with City Council and the city, say, how do we make that kind of commitment ongoing? Because there have been a generational under-resourcing of communities because of systemic racism and choices that we've made as a city and a country. And so I see this budget as a great starting point, but I think we have to have a deep conversation, not lose that passion that was in the street and change that into systemic justice instead of injustice.
Right. And so Mayor Durkan, you know, a few things here about this investment, right? And so the 30 million, I mean, the city council did their thing. And so, you know, you got this 30 million there, and the city council put some provisions in that. And there's also some other provisos in this budget. Do you feel that like the city council trusts you to be able to, you know, to spend in a way that's best for the city? I know that like in the 30 million, it kind of loosely says that your task force, which we haven't heard from though, so maybe you can update us. Your task force has to kind of align with this participatory budgeting group or about this $30 million.
So look, I think that if you really are going to let community guide the investments, you have to let community guide the investments. And so I think this is not as much as what city council wants and what the mayor wants. It's how do we center the city voices? The task force continues to work. I think that anyone who has covered that, and I know Omari, you know the people who are on that task force, they have deep roots in the Black community and other communities of color. And they are going to take their job really seriously. And as we look at the other investments we make, we have to have those things work together. So I have a lot of confidence and actually optimism in how we can actually make these dollars start making a difference in community.
All right, Marcus?
All right, yeah, so Mayor Durkan, I mean, I know you're not a supporter of making drastic cuts, you know, to SVD's budget, and obviously this, you know, this current budget doesn't get to a 50% level that some, you know, demonstrators obviously wanted. So I wanted to ask you: is the current approach to reducing the size of the police force, which you know essentially is letting the force dwindle through attrition, do you think that's sustainable, or does there need to be a more targeted approach?
So there has to be both. I do not think that we can continue to have the department determined by attrition. I've said from the beginning, and I still believe, Marcus, that what we need to do is what are the functions we want a police force to do? And then how do we build that to the right size and have it in every part of our city so that it can respond 24/7 to every kind of call? So we should focus on what are the functions and what are the jobs we want police to do? How do we want them to be trained? How do we really make them community-based officers? And that's the department we should fund. Then we also have to start building these community resources and these alternative responses. Everything from Health One, which will be a government response, to things that might be a response by a community-based organization. But all of those things have to work together, because when a person calls for help, they've got to get the help they need. And so I think that having artificial numbers on cuts is really the wrong way to look. What we need to do is, what kind of police department do we want and need for the city? And what are the other responses that we want and need? And let's just go build both those things.
All right. Trey?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Durkan. There's been a lot of talk around how does this work? How does community work with other groups of authority or positions or departments of authority? And I want to ask you, in just what you were talking about in terms of reducing the police force and really shoring up a lot of these community-rooted solutions, how dedicated is your office in creating the sustainable nature of that those community-rooted solutions?
I am 100% committed, as is my office. But again, Trey, I think we really have to be, you know, if we want community-based solutions, then community has to be involved and centered and accountable as well. And we've got to make sure that it's just like you can't look to government and others for philanthropy, like in your last segment. These community-based solutions and accountability comes most from community itself. And so I think that we've got to have a commitment on all parts, and we have to have a conversation, for example, on gun violence. What are the programs we think we can have to reduce gun violence, particularly in the Black community? And then how do we build it, and what's the accountability? What are we going to hold those community-based organizations to as they develop those programs?
Right. Can you come back wide? Do either you or Marcus have any more budget questions? I wanted to talk to the mayor about policing and police legislation.
Well, I think Marcus, do you have another budget question?
Yeah, I just had one, and it it just might actually touch it on to the policing as well. But Mayor, as you know, Seattle is kind of tracked with the nation and our state in terms of hate crimes, skyrocketing here, unfortunately. And so I wanted to ask you, with hate crimes, with Black folks being, I want to say roughly about a third of all hate crime victims, what can we do, and what does this budget do to hopefully, prevent the continuation of these hate crimes, and what is the city doing to address them? I mean, you talked about, gun violence within the Black community. I mean, I'm just as scared, to be honest with you, at times, just walking out on the street.
Absolutely, Marcus. So we will be doing a number of things. We've been working with the prosecutor's office and some of the community-based organizations monitoring hate crimes. Domestic violence is also up significantly. So how do we support and fund those organizations that are closest to the people to really get at that problem? For hate crimes, Lisa Herbold and I introduced some legislation, I think it was last year, to deal with the rise in hate crimes. We need a new approach, because the first thing you have to do is get at the root causes and stop these crimes. And the long-term solutions, I believe, are the same we've been talking about. If we want to have a healthy, resilient community, we have to make the investments. And we have to show people that we will not tolerate hate crimes of any kind, whether it's against LGBTQ, whether it's the Black community, like we saw early in the pandemic, it was the Asian community. That is opposite of our values. So we have to both stop the crimes, hold people accountable, have some restorative justice available for those areas as well. But in the long term, we can't lose sight of our obligation and our need to really have significant investments in community.
Man, it's interesting, because there's always been some things here in Seattle, and we talk about the history of Seattle, which has been an imperfect history that sometimes is glossed over. But I remember being a kid, Seattle wasn't a hateful city, at least not overtly hateful. It was like shocking when there was a hate crime. And when you talk about like third state in the country behind California and New York, which are way bigger in population, it's like we have to really take a look at ourselves as a city, and really be able to look and see, who are we becoming? Where is our humanity and dignity disappearing to, where, hate can just be so explicit out there in the streets like that.
I don't know. I was getting called the N-word more than a couple times growing up here. I'll have to say. I mean, I think it's always been a presence here.
Maybe because I never left the CD when I was a kid.
Possibly. I don't know.
Well, we also, I think the other thing we've seen is I think Marcus is right. It's not new. It's now more out in the open. And we also see from some of the work we've looked at recently that people are more willing to report the hate crimes, because there's been such a stigma before, and it's just, I got to take this. And people are saying, I don't have to take this, I'm reporting it. So I think that we need to really take this seriously. We've seen hate crimes against LGBTQ go up also, particularly in Capitol Hill, which is the opposite of what Capitol Hill has been historically. So we've always fought that in this city. When I was growing up here, people didn't talk about things, but they were still happening, I think.
Just real quickly.
I was a victim of a hate crime the other day by an Uber driver. But, I didn't report it. I was just like, and so you're right. There might just be more people that are reporting. Right. And maybe that's some of it too, that like you just, it moves beyond you. Yeah. And so it's happening, but you don't even like, what I'm saying?
Well, no, that's what I wanted to say quickly is, right. I mean, most of the times these hate crimes are reported to police, right? I mean, I know growing up, there was a lot of folks who didn't necessarily want to deal with police. So
yeah, even now.
Even now.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
Anyhow. Mayor Durkan, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to bring this up here because, a big thing when people are in the streets, in around policing and police issues here in Seattle. You know, there's a whole equity and funding of sources and community groups, but a lot of people, it's 100%, man. They're in the streets around police issues. And some police issues are on a city level. Clearly, you can impact a budget. People have decided to reduce the budget and things like that. But a lot of what happens in policing actually occurs down in Olympia. So I went digging in the crates. Give me 1 second. I'll do it from this end. Oh yeah, you know I'm good for popping something up on screen, Mayor Durkan. I know you're used to it by now. I went digging in the crates here, and here is a letter that from Mayor Jenny A. Durkan back on July 14th, 2020. And you wrote a letter here to this task force down in Olympia. And basically it says, in order to implement lasting and true accountability reforms, I believe, oh, we got it up on screen. Oh, okay, great. Sorry about that. Let me go back here.
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, okay, great. I believe that the laws governing the collective bargaining rights of police unions must fundamentally be reviewed and changed. Below are my recommendations for statewide reforms of police unions. And you list some things here: independent statewide entity to investigative and prosecute police officers, uniform statewide inquest procedures, create a uniform licensing and review system, transparency and officer misconduct, grant city subpoena powers for civilian police oversight, crowd management, demilitarization, and use of force policy. I think they're calling that tactics down there in Olympia. Consistent policies for training, body cameras, badge numbers, and reporting. A few other things here: removing arbitration and requiring appeals through a civilian oversight board, transparency and investigation and discipline. You got a few other things listed here, Mayor Durkan. But my question to you is, I believe it was yesterday, they had a legislative review for police policies. The Democrats did yesterday, and they had a lot of speakers on there and everything else. Do you still stand by this letter that you wrote here on back in July, wanting to see these changes in policing?
I absolutely do, Omari, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic that a lot of them will get through. The governor had his own task force, as you know. I think that we're going to see legislation to have an independent entity that can invest police misconduct, which I think is critical, because we've seen that people believe there's too close of a tie between local prosecutor's office and local police, and that you need someone independent to look. So it's taking 940 and moving it more. I also think that we will see a certification bill that requires police to have a certain certification. And if there's misconduct, their certification can be taken away. Just like a doctor or a nurse might lose their license, you could lose the state license. The one that we're going to push for very hard from the city of Seattle, which I think is one of the most important things we need for the city, is that when a chief of police actually fires a police officer for misconduct, we can't have an arbitrator have a whole new trial with whole new evidence and force that person back on the force. We should make sure that there's some finality to those decisions. There can still be due process. There can still be an appeal. But we've seen that happen in the city of Seattle periodically over a number of years, and that's controlled by Olympia. We want to change that so that there can be both fairness for the police officer who is there's discipline against, but certainty, so that if you fire a bad police officer, they aren't forced back to the force.
All right, Marcus, did you have any question around these police policies? What's going on in Olympia?
No, I'll let Trey take one from here.
I know she had one. No?
Well, yeah, definitely. I do. And I think that when we talk about innovative measures, it sounds like that's what a lot of what your letter, was putting in there. And I think in terms of you speaking to the people, I really wanted to ask, a lot of folks are like, well, this is going to take progression. Seattle has a chance to lead. We heard you say that when we talk about COVID and the measures we took for COVID. And it sounds like that's really what you're trying to do here. How important is it to you that a bit of your legacy and your legislation, your power now actually create some things that are not going to be reversible so easily, right? That it really creates a pathway for sustainable change.
So Trey, I think if we want to replace systemic racism, we have to replace it with other systems, and they've got to be just and equitable. And I think one of the benefits I had over the summer is I'm in that kind of elders category. And so looking through all of this to see how do we really dismantle the bad systems, but how do we put enduring systems in their place? So that means those generational investments in a safe community, but it also means changes in policing, not just in Seattle, because we saw what happened, what the effects of police officers in Minneapolis did throughout this country. And we want to make sure we have standards that are the same for Renton and Kent and Seattle and everywhere else in the state. So we need the state to stick up. And if I was going to say something to all the people who are in the streets, it's easier to lobby and demand change in Seattle, and we welcome that. You hold us accountable. But we have to have that same level of energy being directed to Olympia to demand the same level of systemic changes, because without changes at the high level, it really limits our ability to do things.
Right. And, you know, that's the thing that I want to keep hitting on, Mayor Durkan. And we've had this conversation before. Is it like, yeah, money kind of comes and goes. It's good when things are funded, but then they get defunded. With Black people, with our community, and usually, I'll be honest, my brother said it yesterday, and it's true. When things that usually help Black people end up helping all people, but not necessarily things that help all people end up helping Black people. But I say that to say that, man, what we really need in our community beyond investment is systemic change. You know, it's a change in policies that led to gentrification, change in policies that are keeping people economically disadvantaged, change in policies around policing. So, I mean, it's good to hear you say that. You know, I'm always listening to every word that, you know, you brought up, that it's a systemic change. And hopefully you want to make that part of your legacy here as mayor of Seattle, that you brought a lasting and systemic change around policing and other things that, like Trayana said, can't just be reversed, can't just be defunded, and it'll be actually long lasting change for our community here. Before we let you go, Marcus, I'll throw it back over to you if you had any other questions for Mayor Durkan.
Yeah, Mayor Durkan, obviously this is Giving Tuesday. Folks are in a giving mood. Are you willing to give Converge Media and the Morning Update Show an exclusive and say whether or not you are going to run for re-election?
I won't do that exclusive, but I thought you were going to ask if I was going to give to Converge or South Seattle Emerald, and I think if I did, I'd ruin your reputations.
I mean, anybody can do anything anonymously. I just want to say.
Right. You see that big anonymous with the redheaded emoji, just like know that I love you. But look, Giving Tuesday, we should all be given to our local. And give to those, like I was listening when you hear before. I try to give to community. I give to national things too, but I really try to give to those organizations that are on the front line doing the works. And so I'm going to do that. The other thing I just want to come back to on what you were saying, Omari, on systems. Make no mistake about it. If you are not sustained on your energies and very intentional of the new systems you build, the old systems will just come right back. It's like ivy in a garden. And systems try to protect the status quo. That is just the truth through history, hundreds and hundreds of years of history. And so as we start to make these changes, we've got to be sustained about it. And that's why I really believe, like, these investments in community, this should be the start. We've got to make this a generational commitment to have those level of investments in schools and affordable housing and healthcare and educational justice. And we've got to look at policing, and you never stop. Because what you build for today will change what you need tomorrow. And so there's got to be built into that system the ability to continue to improve, to reform, as well as to have the strong voices we had. The criticism and the voices to hold government accountable is a critical part of it.
Well, I appreciate it, Mayor. And you know what? Nikki Barron would be upset if I didn't throw in something here about COVID. You know, we have our coronavirus update show that we do here every Monday and Wednesday at 6:15 p.m. to be able to inform our community, especially our elders and everybody else, as to what's going on. We also do a coronavirus update every day here in the Morning Update show, which is coming up next after this. Can you tell us, last time we talked to you, you talked about services that the city had available, especially for those most vulnerable and marginalized communities. What kind of feedback are you getting in regards to people taking advantage of those services, especially right now in this lockdown?
People are taking advantage of all of them. We have almost for example, our grocery voucher program, we're able to convert money to give direct grocery vouchers. Almost 14,000 families and households have been served, about 8,000 right now. we have about a 90 to 98% uptake rate of them actually being used. If you look service by service, whether it's food security or rental assistance or the small business stabilization, we need more. And that's why I'm really pushing to get the federal government to pass that the next COVID relief, because there's only so much a city can do. State can step up too, and they are stepping up. But I just want to leave you with this, because you really are good about covering this. We are in a really, really dangerous place right now. I know people are tired, they're fatigued, they're tired of the restrictions, but we are seeing COVID numbers like we have not seen before in this region, and we're seeing our hospitals fill up. For those frontline hospital workers, for the family members you love, please do what you need to do. Wear the mask, keep your distance, wash your hands. People started kind of let their guard down a little towards the end of the summer and fall, and we're having more gatherings in their homes with people, and we think that helped drive some of this. But we can still stop it, but we're going to have to really take some measures. Each one of us is the front line in this fight against COVID.
All right, Mayor Durkan, definitely appreciate you taking the time this morning and coming on here and talking about the budget, and also making your position clear about policing legislation down in Olympia. It sounds like you've got a lot of people to give to today, so we'll let you get on with what you're giving.
That's right, I gotta go do my giving now.
There it is. Talk to you soon.
Honest Durkan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. Marcus Harrison Green, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just was glad that, that the mayor came out and said, specifically, what her opinions and thought were, about one, the hate crimes and what we're going to do for that. And then also, unequivocally talking about, the police and her approach to accountability. So, words are great, and we'll see if there's follow through.
Also encouraging people that want real change with police and everything else. The city can only do so much, and that's real. It's, the change people want to see is really on a state level and also on a federal level, but on a state level. So it'll be interesting to see if that energy now moves from the municipalities and focuses down there on the state legislature. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we have Nikki Barron, coronavirus update numbers. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, I want to thank you for all your support. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. And now we're joined by producer Nikki Barron. Where's Nikki at?
Hello.
Hi, Nikki. What's up, Nikki? We don't, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time today. We went long in the first segment with the mayor, but maybe you can go on and hit the numbers for us. Let us know where we're at.
Yes, definitely. So the numbers for today, we are at 165,000 confirmed cases. So that's an increase of 2,319 cases since Monday. Hospitalizations are up 136, and we lost another 71 Washingtonians to the coronavirus since the weekend. So the test positivity rate hasn't been updated, but it is sitting at 10.8. They let everybody know that there's a data delay because of testing being reported. So yeah, it's not looking great, but it's not record-breaking numbers. What the experts are saying is that all of the moving around and travel that happened during Thanksgiving, mid-December is when we're going to see those numbers get added into this data. And then by December, we'll really see the full effect of travel for Thanksgiving. And experts are urging people to, if you travel during Thanksgiving, just assume that you were exposed to somebody who had COVID and quarantine for 14 days for the safety of your communities. So those are the numbers for today. And I had just one other safety thing that I wanted to share with everybody. And you may have seen Jay Inslee made the announcement yesterday. There is now an app that Washingtonians can use. It is already included in the iPhone. You just have to activate it. And there's one that you can download for Android. And essentially it uses Bluetooth. So you're not sharing location data with anybody. It's supposed to have a lot of personal safety attributes to it. So people who are worried about their privacy, this app is being assured that it is safe and private. And it basically just lets you know if you've been in contact with somebody who has tested positive. It's all self-selected, so we don't really know how many people are going to have it, but it's super easy to find if you have the iPhone. Here's my iPhone here. You're just going to go to the settings. I'm going to give it a second. There we go. So just go to the settings. You're going to find the exposure notifications, boop, and just turn it on. So it's really easy. Turn that sucker on. You'll know if you have been around somebody who has COVID. So that includes people at the grocery store. You know, it becomes exposure anywhere you go. So it's not just waiting for a contact tracer to let you know. If somebody reports in here that they have COVID and you guys have shared the same space, you now have a better understanding of your exposure, and you can make that decision to self-quarantine or reach out to your healthcare provider for more resources.
I was wondering about that. Thank you for explaining that, because I was going to have to go through the Apple products and look at what this thing was. It popped up on my phone, and you know me, I don't do all the new apps and stuff. So I was like, what is this? I was like, why is this popping up? Thank you for explaining that. But here we go. Oh, I mean, are we actually in the era of demolition men? I mean, are we there at this point? Because now we can be tracked everywhere. We already knew the phones were doing it, but I know, but now we get to opt in. Now we get to opt in.
So the difference is, right, and this is where some other countries that have done well with this is, man, they just let it be known. We're taking your data. We're doing this. We're doing, like places like South Korea. I mean, but that's why they're able to jump on it, you know, because everybody's opted in already. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just a reverse kind of thing here, where even though they already got all of our info, you know what I'm saying, opt in. So you might have a country where 100% of the phones are already opt in. It's just the nature of their government.
They didn't have a choice.
No, they didn't have a choice. Of course not. You know what I'm saying? Where we're here, there is an opt-in, and percentage, we'll see how many people actually do opt-in, right?
I just want to add that if the government was going to secretly track us, I'd like to believe they would be more secretive. You know, they would utilize something that wasn't so obviously intended to track us. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I feel like if they wanted to steal your data and track you, they definitely wouldn't do it with an app where they're saying like, yeah, we're tracking you and we need you to opt into it. It'd probably be something we didn't know about. So
I think now though the ideas around this have shifted. And I want to ask you about this, Nikki, because I mean, I feel that now people may be more prone to want to be checked like this, or maybe to have that kind of understanding. Hey, if I was at this grocery store at this time, inevitably I ran across somebody and maybe shared air with someone who did have COVID. I mean, I feel like now with COVID, the ideals around people kind of wanting a service like this that is, you know, for their protection, maybe a lot of that ideology has changed. What do you think?
I think it's just weighing your belief systems. Is a perception of privacy by not opting into this app more important than the idea that you might be infecting your grandmother, your mom, your dad, your brothers, sisters, your friends, neighbors, because, like I said, it is a perceived perception of privacy. If you're watching the show right now, somebody out there has the data about where you are, what you're watching, what you're doing. So it's really just about perception. So it's up to you, turning this on. If that makes you so uncomfortable, don't do it. But you also run the risk of being an asymptomatic carrier and spreading it within your community.
Damn.
Ooh, Nikki's putting it down. She's like, don't do it. But just so you know, you also could just be spreading COVID to all your loved ones.
Nikki Barrett, you already know. All right, Nikki. So real quick, 10 seconds. What can we expect on Wednesday, coronavirus update show?
Yeah, so we actually had a scheduling change in there. So we were going to do one about mental health and coronavirus, but they just hit me today that we had to move that. So we will actually be playing the full interview that we did with King County Courts about the eviction resolution program that they just launched.
All right, fantastic. All right, thank you, Nikki. We'll catch you tomorrow. So, man, believe me, we report so much on coronavirus. But my mom always says you can't leave people in an affected state. You know what I'm saying? And it's Giving Tuesday, and I want to reinforce that Black philanthropy is alive and, it's out there and doing great things. I came across this clip right here from Hartford, Connecticut, but it's called The Spirit of Philanthropy.
Give me one sec.
Throughout my years of giving back, it has inspired me more. So it's been almost a domino effect. As I've given more, it's inspired me to want to give more.
No matter what or who you are, you always have something you can give back.
And I think it's important for the people of certain communities to realize that we have not given up on them.
For me, giving, it is a duty. It is a calling. I love doing it.
You can actually see the organizations that you give to grow, and when you see them do great things, you're like, wow, I was actually a part of that.
It's a wonderful thing to give back. I wouldn't live my life any other way.
I went to a local prep school, the Loomis Chafee School in Windsor, Connecticut. I was only able to go there through the generosity of people who donated to their scholarship funds. And I think that was the first place where I realized, look at what someone else's generosity can do for you. And it really cemented for me that I was going to need to be prepared to do the same for others.
My mother from the West Indies would claim everybody from the islands. She would give them places to live, food, and jobs. And growing up was just part of our culture.
I think it's probably you do by watching what your family does. And of course, the church in Black families at that time, when I was coming up, that was very important to the people. So you always gave to church.
For me, it's a brief reminder of the mentorship I received throughout my academic career from high school, college, and graduate school. And I realized that it's important for me to mentor younger students.
When we lost KJ in 2006, we just felt that we wanted to keep his name in the public and help other kids.
I had many mentors. My uncle and my parents would go to soup kitchens, coach and help out students in the community. In watching them, I was able to really assess what I wanted to do and how I wanted to give back to my community.
I was very impacted by my grandmother. She's always given back. And I've been just involved in my community because I feel this is a good step.
It makes you feel better when you know you're doing something to help other people.
I've been inspired to give based on a biblical verse. It says something to the extent of, to whom much is given, much is required. And I've sort of used that as a foundation for my philosophy on philanthropy.
what you're giving is helping not only one organization, but it's helping many. And so that it just makes you want to give more.
What I personally get out of giving back is knowing that I'm making a change. I'm making a change in the community that has molded me into who I am today.
So when it comes to giving, it doesn't matter how old you are, where you are in your life, what you make, what you do, you can always give.
Assess where you are. You may not be able to give financially at the moment, but if not, consider giving time. Just giving an hour a week to go out and read to a student. Just giving 2 hours a week to coach. It can go so far.
Find an organization that when you hear the mission, it makes you get up and you're energized and you feel like you're ready to go. That's the perfect organization for you.
There's always going to be a need to help those who are coming up behind you, and it keeps you grounded.
By allowing yourself, opening yourself to give back, you're allowing yourself to receive. Try to get involved with your school, your community, your family center, food share. In doing so, you're meeting people, you're building relationships.
We just happened to be at the event that just passed with the Harper Foundation, and I just saw all the donors stand up, and I looked to my husband. I says, when I pass, can you do one in my name? And he looked at me. He was like, why wait until you pass? We can create you one right now, and I will make sure your name is first.
I'm a dreamer. I dreamt that there'd be a better community. So I invested in the community.
You see, so it's important that people realize, so as Black people in our community, we've had a long history of philanthropy one way or another. And like Professor Freeman said at the top of the show, or you see here in this video with the Hartford Foundation, I mean, giving is just who we are. And I don't want people to be deterred because you hear of these big donations by big organizations. Because, when I've been going with this thing, believe in giving for years, right? And, across all my social media, hashtag believe in giving, probably like since, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years now. And the thing is yes, you can give money, but give time, give understanding, give a listening ear, give patience. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that people can give, and it's just part of our community. And I just want to encourage people that it's like, let's keep this tradition that's been in our community and continue to give.
Absolutely. I think today is such a great epitome of when we talk about the history and the love, really, because giving comes from love, and our community showcases that. So please find the organization that you can give to today. Like O said, it doesn't always have to be money. You can always give your time, talent, and treasure.
And last thing that I would leave you with here, and I guess we'll get ready and we'll get a wide view here. Last thing that I'll leave you with is that for those of you that have given to Converge Media, I mean, you really help us stay on the air. Thank you. You've seen all of our recommendations for other or people that we're supporting that you can give. But if you find it in your heart to give on Giving Tuesday to Converge and support our independent media efforts, we're very thankful for that.
Absolutely.
Right. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope rising sun of a new day.